David Hale pressed his back against the bedroom wall, every muscle in his body coiled like a spring. 15 years of quiet suburban life hadn't dulled his combat instincts, the same ones that had saved him during countless covert operations across 3 continents. The digital clock on the nightstand glowed 1:07 a.m., and at that exact moment, a whisper drifted through the ventilation grate. "Yes, make it clean. He runs at 5 a.m. If necessary, cut the brakes. I want him gone before Sunday." A chill ran through David's veins. The speaker crackled again, and a male voice added, "Payment first. The crypto wallet I sent. Double it if it's brutal." For 10 years, David had buried his past deeper than any grave he'd ever dug. Suburban insurance agent David Hale was his new identity. The name Reaper was supposed to remain a whisper in agency corridors. The Reaper who once eliminated cartel leaders in Mexico, dismantled terrorist cells in Iraq, and left a bloody trail across the Middle East. His name was uttered in the dark with fear and respect. He met Emily Ward at a charity gala in Seattle. She was a stunning brunette with green eyes that seemed to see right through him, a pediatric nurse radiating warmth and genuine care. She made him believe he could leave the darkness behind. Their romance was whirlwind, hikes in the mountains, wine tastings, lazy Sunday mornings that felt like redemption for every life he'd taken. But now, listening to the wife he'd shared 8 years with calmly plotting his murder, David realized his entire life with her had been a lie. The woman who kissed him goodbye each day, brewed his coffee with 2 sugars and no cream, and held him during thunderstorms. This woman wanted him dead with the same silent precision that once made him a ghost in enemy territory. David rose from the bed and padded barefoot to his study. Behind a false panel in the bookshelf lay a titanium safe Emily knew nothing about. Inside were remnants of his old life, fake passports, unmarked cash, encrypted drives, and a satellite phone that could reach any corner of the world. He pulled out his go bag, a compact kit with everything needed to vanish forever or wage war. His fingers found the satellite phone, and he sent a message to a number untouched for 10 years. "Last dance. Partner." The reply came instantly. "Thought you were dead. Who's the target?" Jaw clenched, David typed, "Close to home, need cleanup. Be there in 48 hours. Stay in the shadows." Michael Burns had been his partner for 7 years, an explosives and tactics expert, capable of erasing any problem without a trace. If anyone could help him navigate this personal hell, it was Mike. Deleting the exchange, David returned the phone to the safe. He slipped back into bed beside his wife, studying her face in the moonlight. The same face he'd kissed on their wedding day, the same lips that had just ordered his death. Emily stirred, reaching out to touch his chest. "You're cold," she murmured, half asleep. "Just got up for water," he whispered, letting her nestle against him. Every nerve screamed to wrap his hands around her throat and squeeze until her breath stopped. But the Reaper was always a strategist. He needed to uncover everything: who she was connected to, why she wanted him dead, and how deep the betrayal ran. Only then would he show what happens to those who try to kill a ghost. The next morning, David maintained his routine with military precision. He kissed Emily at 7:15, told her he loved her, and drove to the insurance office as he had for 8 years. But instead of reviewing client files, he activated long-dormant skills. First, he installed surveillance gear in their home, miniature cameras and mics so tiny they were nearly undetectable. By lunch, every room streamed video and audio to an encrypted server in an abandoned warehouse across town. From that moment, David monitored Emily's real life. She wasn't the loving wife he'd believed. At 2:30 p.m., she left the house and headed to the Riverside Motel on the city's outskirts, room 237. David's heart pounded as he watched through the lens. She embraced a tall, dark-haired man, Tyler Baxter. A quick check revealed Tyler worked as a personal trainer at an upscale downtown gym, but deeper digging uncovered more. Using old intel contacts, David learned Tyler had been dishonorably discharged from the Marines 3 years ago for assault and theft. He had a rap sheet, bar fights, domestic disputes, even suspicions of underground brawling. But Tyler wasn't just Emily's lover. He was her weapon. David's investigation showed she'd been planning this for months. Bank statements revealed transfers from their joint accounts to crypto wallets. Even more alarming was the discovery about their marriage. Emily Ward hadn't been a pediatric nurse when they met. She was part of the identity theft ring. That charity encounter wasn't chance. She'd targeted him. But why? David had built his civilian legend flawlessly. No traces of his dark past should remain. The answer lay in an encrypted file on a drive he'd thought destroyed. Someone had sold his cover to the highest bidder, not just insurance agent David Hale, but the Reaper, the government's assassin, and that someone was his former handler, Harrison Grant. Grant had been trafficking retired agents' covers for years, leaking them to criminal syndicates. He'd auctioned David's legend, and Emily's people bought it, starting a long con. 8 years of marriage, 8 years of trust and routine, all to wait for the right moment and claim the bounty on his head. But Emily had made a fatal mistake, underestimating who she'd tangled with. Reviewing hours of footage, David watched her and Tyler discuss his death in meticulous detail. They planned more than murder, an elaborate accident to collect insurance and vanish together. The crypto transfers weren't for a hitman. Tyler would handle it himself at the Devil's Bend, a treacherous mountain road curve where David ran mornings. That night, Tyler would sabotage the car, then ambush him in the woods the next day, posing as a rescuer amid the wreckage. Emily would play the grieving widow as flawlessly as she'd played the devoted wife for 8 years. Over dinner, she smiled, asked about his day, laughed at his jokes, even suggested a getaway for their upcoming anniversary, one she didn't intend him to survive. "You seem thoughtful tonight," she said, reaching across to touch his hand. "Everything okay?" David smiled the same way he'd once smiled during terrorist interrogations. "Just thinking how much I love you and how I'd do anything to protect what we have." Emily squeezed his fingers, her green eyes shining with what he now recognized as calculated deception. "I feel the same. I'd do anything to keep you safe." The irony was palpable. She meant it in a twisted sense, securing her own safety by eliminating him. As they cleared the dishes, David's phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number, package delivered to the usual spot. Michael was in position. David met Michael Burns at an abandoned grain silo 40 miles from town, the kind of isolated spot where they'd once planned ops that officially never happened. Mike stepped from the shadows, still compact and sturdy, with a surgeon's hands and a wolf's eyes. His duffel likely held enough firepower to level a block. "Damn, David," he said, shaking hands firmly. "You look like a soccer dad from the suburbs." "That was the point," David replied, spreading photos on the car hood. "This is Emily, my wife. This is Tyler Baxter, her lover and would-be executioner. And this," he held up a shot of a silver-haired man in a government office, "Harrison Grant, the one who sold me out." Mike studied the images with the focus he'd once given bomb schematics. "How deep does this go?" 8 years, David said coldly. "My whole marriage was a setup. Grant sells covers of retired agents to criminals. Emily and her crew bought mine and played this charade all this time." "And the endgame?" Mike frowned. David pulled up a tablet and played recordings. "They wanted my resources and access at first, but something changed. Now they want me dead, staged as an accident." Mike's face darkened as he watched. "This isn't some small-time crew, David. This op requires serious prep and intel. Someone's hunting you specifically." "That's the worst part," David said quietly. "Grant wouldn't sell my cover cheap. Someone paid top dollar for David Hale, which means they know about the Reaper." His jaw tightened. "The question is, do they want me dead for what I did on missions, or for what I might still remember?" "What's the play?" Mike asked calmly. David unrolled a map on the hood and marked points with red pins. "We flipped the script. They want my death ruled accidental. We'll give them an accident of our own. Tyler thinks he's hunting prey. But tomorrow night, the hunter becomes me. And the wife. Emily lied to me for 8 years. She'll learn what happens when you betray a man who's killed professionally his whole life." David's eyes turned to black voids. "But first, we uncover who's behind it. This is bigger than a cheating spouse and her boyfriend. This is a larger game." Mike nodded and opened his bag, revealing an arsenal. Weapons, electronics, military surveillance gear, vests, and enough C4 to level half the state. "Hold the explosives for now," David said sharply. "We need recon first." He handed Mike a folder. "Here are Emily's known connections. Find out who she's really working with and why they want me dead so badly they'd invest 8 years in a cover." "And Grant?" Mike asked. David grinned predatorily. Harrison Grant's about to have a very bad week, but first I need the full scope of the betrayal. He's been selling out American agents to foreign criminals. That's treason, and I have a personal score with treason. As they loaded gear into David's car, Mike voiced what hung in the air from the start. You know there's no going back. Once we start, insurance agent David Hale's life ends. Tomorrow night, he dies, whether Tyler succeeds or not. David glanced at his wife's photo, the woman who'd comforted him after nightmares, who'd given him faith he could be more than a killer. But that man had died long ago. He just hadn't realized it yet. When this is over, everyone who betrayed me will be in the ground, and I'll vanish where no one can find me, he said coldly, embracing the role he had to reclaim. The Reaper never retired, he just slept. Driving separate roads, David felt something he hadn't in 10 years, the anticipation of the hunt. Tomorrow night, Tyler Baxter would learn the difference between killing an insurance agent and trying to kill a man with a long trail of deaths behind him. And Emily would discover the quiet husband she'd deceived for years was her worst nightmare. Thursday evening brought a cold rain, perfect conditions for a fatal mishap on mountain roads. All day, David played his role flawlessly. He even stopped at the auto shop where Tyler moonlighted, leaving his Honda Civic like an unsuspecting mark. Hidden cameras captured Tyler crawling under it, carefully slicing the brake lines, just enough to fail on the Devil's Bend serpentine. But Tyler made a fatal error, assuming David was a typical civilian who'd miss handling changes. David had been trained to spot sabotage by masters next to whom Tyler looked amateur. At 11 p.m., he kissed Emily and retreated to his study, pretending to finish work papers. Through surveillance, he saw her wait 20 minutes, slip from bed, and text, "He's asleep, all clear." The reply, "Break's done. I'll be in position at 5 a.m. By this time tomorrow, we'll be rich and free." A cold smirk crossed David's face. Yes, they'd be free, from life itself. At 3 a.m., he left the house as silently as on ops a decade ago. Under running gear hid tactical kit, sneakers swapped for combat boots. Michael waited at Devil's Bend, having spent the night prepping Tyler's surprise. The plan was simple and elegant. Tyler would hide in the woods, watching David's car plunge off after brake failure, but he'd see a replica. Same model, reinforced brakes and armor. Mike would drive, the real David would flank the hunter from behind. At 4:45 a.m., David lay in wait 10 yards from Tyler's position. Through night vision, he watched him check his watch and shift stance. Tyler had a rifle, likely for a kill shot if the crash failed. The guy was thorough, David gave him that. His earpiece whispered Michael's voice. Ghost Rider to Reaper. Entering zone, ETA 3 minutes. Copy, initiate, David replied. He saw Tyler tense as an engine roared in the pre-dawn air. The Honda entered the curve at precisely 60 miles per hour, per the GPS tracker. Tyler raised his rifle, ready if needed. The car hit the sabotage section and Tyler pressed a remote. David hadn't anticipated this. A backup plan. A small charge detonated, hurling the Honda toward the guardrail, but the reinforced barrier held. The car skidded to a battered but intact stop. Damn! Tyler cursed, lifting the rifle again. But Michael was already moving. The driver stumbled out, dazed but alive. Tyler froze, confused. This wasn't the script. That hesitation cost him everything. David struck from behind with cold precision. A chokehold, and Tyler went limp in seconds. Michael emerged from the car, having played the part perfectly. Nice performance, David said as they zip-tied Tyler's limbs. Didn't know you were an actor. Always wanted to try method. Mike grinned, checking Tyler's rifle. Pro gear. Someone supplied him well. They tossed the unconscious Tyler into a van and drove 20 miles deeper into the mountains to an abandoned mine. When Tyler woke, he was strapped to a metal chair in an old miner's office, lit only by battery lamps. Good morning, Tyler, David said calmly. I think we need to talk about your relationship with my wife. Tyler's eyes widened. You should be dead. I hear that a lot, David smirked, sitting across from him. Now, tell me everything. Who hired you? Who gave the weapons and the real objective? Lie, and my friend Michael starts carving pieces off you with this knife. I don't know what you're... Tyler began. Michael's blade sliced a shallow cut on his forearm. Tyler yelped more from terror than pain. Let me clarify, David continued evenly. I've spent 15 years in the world's darkest corners. I've interrogated drug lords, terrorists, and war criminals. You're just a petty crook who thought he'd kill an insurance agent. Your choice, easy or very hard. Tyler's tough guy facade crumbled. Emily, she said you were just an office drone. She never mentioned anything like this. What else did she tell you? David asked coldly. That there'd be big money if your death looked accidental. Someone was paying her to get you out of the way. Who? I don't know. Some gray-haired government guy. Met her once, handed a suitcase of cash. Promised more when it was done. David locked eyes with Michael. Harrison Grant. Confirmation, but not enough. How long has she been planning this? Months? Years, Tyler blurted. She said she built trust, studied your habits. But recently something changed. She got scared, said someone was asking questions about you. If they find out who you really are, we're all done. The puzzle clicked for David. Someone had uncovered his identity, forcing Grant to eliminate him. But who and what did they think he remembered? The insurance was just a bonus. The real payout came from that official once your death was confirmed. David stood. Decision made. Tyler Baxter had played his part. Michael, take Mr. Baxter for some fresh air. Tyler's face paled. Wait, I told you everything. We had a deal. David regarded him as coldly as condemned enemies. This was an interrogation, and you tried to kill me. Debts like that get paid one way. David thought as Michael dragged Tyler deeper into the mine. His phone buzzed. An Emily text. You okay? Heard about an incident at Devil's Bend this morning. Please call. David smirked and replied, I'm fine. Took a different route. See you tonight. Love you too. Time to visit the wife. Emily paced the living room nervously when he returned that evening. Her carefully constructed mask cracked for the first time in 8 years. Seeing him, she rushed into his arms, seemingly relieved. Thank God you're alive, she whispered, pressing against his chest. When I heard about the crash, I thought... Thought what? David asked softly, his gaze cold and watchful. That something happened to you? Radio said a car like yours went off Devil's Bend. She pulled back, a flicker of disappointment or fear in her eyes. I got so scared I decided to drive the bypass highway. Wanted to listen to the news. David stroked her hair habitually. Funny you knew the make and model right away. Did the radio report it that detailed? Color drained from her face, but Emily recovered quickly. I called the police when I couldn't reach you. They confirmed. Interesting, David said evenly. I checked with the police. No calls matching my car's description today. Emily's eyes darted to the door. Her second mistake. The first was trying to kill him. The third would be thinking she could talk her way out. David, I don't understand what you mean. I'm not implying, Emily. I'm stating facts. He opened the safe, pulled out the tablet, and played recordings. Fact 1. You've been cheating with Tyler Baxter for 6 months. Fact 2. You've planned my death much longer. Fact 3. The last 8 years. You've been acting, not living. Emily's mask shattered. Gone was the loving wife. Before him stood a cold, calculating woman. How long have you known about the affair? She asked, dropping the pretense. Since yesterday, about you being a pro-con artist tasked to seduce and eliminate me. 20 minutes. Where's Tyler? Tyler won't be joining us. He ran into some very unfriendly people. David set the tablet down and stared at his wife. The question is, will you cooperate more than he did? Her hand darted for her purse, but David was faster. He gripped her wrist and calmly extracted the pistol. Emily Ward, he said, checking the gun. Born in Detroit, arrested twice for fraud before 20. Member of the Meridian Group specializing in long-term infiltrations and eliminations. Your handler, Harrison Grant. Your mission, surveil and eventually liquidate retired operative codename Reaper. You don't know who you're dealing with, she hissed, her voice devoid of warmth. Grant's not alone. There are people above him. They'll level this city to erase you. Who are they? People who clean up loose ends for the government. No witnesses left. She smiled sharply like a blade. You killed too many, David. A very important person wants to ensure it never surfaces. Recognition chilled David's chest. This wasn't about money or territory. It was covering ops that could topple careers and governments. How many have they already taken out? What? How many more retired agents have they eliminated? I don't know. Emily's voice cracked with panic. You were my only target, but Grant has teams nationwide. David pondered silently. A systematic purge, using criminal groups as tools. Brilliant, ruthless, and it had to stop. Who's running the op? I don't know. Grant compartmentalized everything. I knew only the target and task. Her voice trembled. Please, David. It was just a job, nothing personal. It became personal when you said yes at our wedding, he said icily. Every morning kiss, every night in my bed. 8 years planning my death. His earpiece crackled. Michael's voice. Reaper, we have company. 3 vehicles from the south. Military formation, fast. David cursed silently. The plan was blown. Change of plans, he told Emily. We're leaving. I'm not going anywhere with you. You are, because those vehicles aren't here to save you. They're tying off loose ends and now you're one. At that moment, glass shattered up front. Emily's eyes widened. She realized her handlers deemed her expendable. Back door, David commanded, grabbing his go bag and dragging her along. Head down and try not to get us killed. They slipped into the yard. Behind, footsteps echoed, coordinated, quiet, unmistakable. Men like David once was, now hunting him. The abandoned warehouse Michael had prepped became their temporary base. Meanwhile, through long-range optics, they watched tactical teams methodically sweep David's house, erasing traces of his existence. They're precise, Michael muttered, adjusting the lens. Looks like staging a deadly home invasion. In a couple days, bodies found, yours and Emily's. We're not playing corpses, David replied calmly. He turned to his wife, bound to a chair and far less confident than that morning. Talk about Grant's setup. How he connects with teams. Encrypted satellite phones, she said flatly. Each team leader has a direct line. Grunts know only their target. If one fails, others stay intact. How many teams? I don't know exactly. Maybe a dozen? Each in a city, each on a hunt. She met his gaze, a hint of remorse flickering. You have to understand. We thought you were just a retired insurance guy. If we'd known who you were, we'd have brought more firepower, David finished. Or run. Smarter to run. Michael looked up from his laptop. Monitoring police and emergency channels. No bodies reported at your house yet. Means they're still searching. But here's the odd part. Chatter about a federal team conducting routine interviews with vets in the area. David smirked bitterly. Routine. They've accelerated the timeline. Something spooked them. What could make them risk exposure? Someone's onto the op, a journalist, rival agency. They're eliminating everyone before info leaks. We can't save them all, Michael said quietly. No, David agreed. But everyone behind this pays for each death. He faced Emily again. Names. Everything you know. Contacts Tyler mentioned, what Grant gave you. Help, and maybe you live to see justice hit them. Don't, and you die tonight when their cleaners realize you're breathing. Emily paused long, then spilled addresses, phones, meeting spots, protocols. Crucially, Grant had a coordination center, a base near Redmond, Washington, posed as a private security firm, but really the hub. How many there? Don't know. Maybe 20. Her voice shook. David, these people don't just eliminate targets. They wipe families, friends, anyone who might ask questions. Trying to appeal to my conscience? I'm saying it's suicide. Even if you breach, you won't get out alive. Michael glanced from the computer. She's probably right about the odds. We don't have to get out alive to complete the mission, Michael said quietly. David nodded. His partner meant a suicide run. Breach. Dismantle the op. Take as many enemies as possible before numbers overwhelm. There's another way, David said. Flip the game entirely. Don't run from Grant's op. Make them come to us. He turned to Emily. We'll deliver you to their HQ. Say we want a deal. your life for safe passage abroad. They'll be so cocky, they'll escort us into their fortress heart." "You're both insane," Emily exclaimed. "This isn't a movie. These are pros." "So are we," David replied. "Difference is, we have nothing left to lose." Michael packed fresh bags with weapons and explosives. "When do we move?" "Tonight. Grant expects us to flee and vanish. He won't anticipate us walking through the front door with a captive and a smile." Prepping for what might be their final mission, David reflected on the life he was leaving. David Hale, the insurance agent, was a comfortable lie. For 8 years, he'd almost believed he could be normal, forget violence and death. Now he returned to that darkness forever. But this time, he fought not for abstract national security or political aims. It was simpler, more personal, the right to live without looking back, and vengeance for comrades killed by those they'd trusted. The Reaper was fully awake and very, very angry. The compound near Redmond looked exactly like a private security firm. Understated buildings, chain-link fence, surveillance cameras. But David's eye caught the truth. Tower placements, fields of fire, reinforced main structure built to withstand assault. 23 on site, Michael reported, lowering binoculars, counting exterior guards. Another dozen inside, plus tech staff. Heavier than I thought. David checked gear. They know who they're dealing with. "Of course," Michael grinned. 2 dead operatives show up with a missing asset demanding a meet. The plan was genius in simplicity. Michael stayed outside with Emily as leverage and backup if David went off script. David entered to negotiate their escape, planting microcharges on load-bearing structures en route. 15 minutes to set. Signal. 3 quick flashlight flashes. Then Michael detonates and strikes from outside while David clears inside. Classic pincer, the move they'd drilled dozens of times against oblivious foes. "If no signal, blow it all and bail," David said. He approached the gate, hands visible, weapon holstered. Guards were pro but not overly edgy. They expected him. "David Hale." "The one. I think Harrison Grant's waiting." "Follow." Hands where we see them. Inside, the main building was Spartan but tech-heavy. David counted 8 armed on the ground floor, alert but not hostile. They led him to an elevator, dropping 2 levels, revealing the base's true face. Rows of monitors flashing feeds nationwide. David recognized addresses, homes of former colleagues unaware they were hunted. The conference room resembled a war room. Harrison Grant waited there. He'd aged, silver hair, but his eyes remained cold and sharp. "Hello, David," he said. "Or should I say, Reaper?" "Depends who you're talking to," David replied, taking the offered seat. 4 armed guards lined the perimeter. "Right now, I'm just a man wanting a deal," David continued. "You killed Tyler Baxter and 4 of my best. Why negotiate?" "Because I have info you need, and my death won't solve your bigger problem." Grant leaned back. "Enlighten me." "Someone's probing Operation Nightfall. Someone with resources and access that could turn your life into a nightmare if they connect the dots." David watched his face closely. "Question is, are they after you specifically, or did they stumble onto something larger?" Operation Nightfall was David's last official mission, eliminating a terrorist cell in Iraq selling chemical weapons. But it went sideways when the targets proved CIA assets tracking shipments to Iran. Orders from above. Wipe everyone, even unaware American operatives. "Nightfall's classified above your pay grade for 10 years, Grant said coldly. "Classification means little when the right people ask the right questions," David countered, leaning forward. "Someone knows Harrison, enough to make your veteran purge look like what it is, a cover-up." A shadow crossed Grant's face. "What do you want?" "Safe exit for me and my partner. New IDs, clean docs, enough cash to vanish forever." David spread his hands. "In return, I tell you who's digging into Nightfall and how close they are. And Emily, she's insurance. She lives as long as you keep your word." Grant studied David's face long. "You know I can't let you walk. You know too much." "Then we have a problem, because if I don't leave alive, my partner's got orders. Everything I know about Nightfall hits major news outlets." "You're bluffing. Really?" David smirked coldly. "You sent a team to kill a suburban insurance guy, and now you're facing the Reaper in your most secure site. Do I seem like someone who bluffs?" Grant waved a guard over, who whispered something. While distracted, David scanned. Vents, electrical panels, support beams, prime spots for Michael's charges. I'm authorized to offer this, Grant said finally. Full immunity, new identities, relocation anywhere. I just need your source's name and assurance it ends here. Generous. Too generous. Suspicion laced David's voice. What aren't you saying? The op's bigger than you think, Grant snapped. Nightfall was just the start. Dozens of classified missions could dismantle the entire intel apparatus if exposed. We're not villains, David. We're safeguarding national security by killing those who served it, protecting secrets that in wrong hands cost thousands of innocent lives. His voice rang with conviction. David had heard such justifications before, usually from men whose orders haunted his nights. Worse, Grant believed every word. Prove it, David demanded. What? Prove these ops justify murdering vets in their sleep. Show them. Grant hesitated, then nodded to a guard. Pull up Nightfall files, all of it. As the terminal activated, David palmed one of Michael's micro-mines, a coin-like device that stuck to metal. He had 6, enough to collapse the underground complex. First one adhered under his chair as he shifted, second on the electrical panel when leaning toward docks. Each move natural, unnoticed, but what he read froze his blood. Nightfall wasn't isolated. For 15 years, Black Unit systematically eliminated American agents learning too much about illegal overseas ops. They protected not the nation, but careers and freedom of those turning intel into personal crime syndicates. And worst, David Hale, the Reaper, was their most effective tool. The revelation hit like a gut punch. The Iraqi cell we wiped, they were exposing U.S. officials selling arms to both sides. David said quietly, his voice a verdict. You turned me into a janitor. You served American interests, Grant replied, conviction waning. Sometimes that requires tough calls. Feigning a wall lean, David planted the third mine on a vent grate. How many knew? Knew what? How many operatives realized what they were really used for? Grant's silence answered enough. The veteran eliminations weren't about secrecy. They silenced those grasping they'd become hired killers for private gain. Everything, David said. Every name in your list eventually figured it out. That's why you're killing them. We gave you honorable discharges, new lives, clean slates, a chance at normalcy, Grant pleaded, voice almost begging. All we asked was silence. And when silence wasn't enough, permanent silence, David cut coldly. His hand neared his pistol, but guards' barrels trained on him. He wasn't firing anyway, buying time for Mike. I want the full list, David said. All names, ops, every target. David, don't complicate. Show it, or I'll raise hell loud enough for cops to arrive in 5. Grant nodded reluctantly. A guard projected the file. David's gut twisted. Dozens of names, comrades he'd served with, some marked liquidated in the last 2 years, others pending, alive, for now. Michael Burns, David read aloud. Curious. You listed my partner as a target. He's compromised by associating with you. You know how it works. Fourth mine stuck to the doorframe while Grant focused on the screen. And Marcus Webb, Sarah Chen, Tom Rodriguez, they never touched Black Ops. They asked questions, searched for missing buddies. We couldn't risk leaks. So you killed them. We protected national security. David's laugh shattered like glass. You protected yourselves. This isn't security. It's covering war crimes. Fifth mine on a beam behind Grant's chair. One left. Even if true, what's your alternative? Grant shouted. Expose it all, gut intel. Endanger thousands of agents. My alternative is justice, David said coldly, planting the final mine on a ceiling beam while feigning a document reach. Starting with this room. Grant's eyes widened. He understood. Take him down. But David moved. The table flipped for cover. Bullets whizzed overhead, embedding in walls. He rolled behind a metal cabinet and whispered into his comm. Mike, light it up. Explosions rolled simultaneously. Half the room caved. Darkness and dust engulfed everything. 2 guards crushed under debris. Grant lay under the overturned table, blood trickling from a gash. Surviving fighters disoriented. David ghosted through smoke. One fell to a knife between ribs. The other turned his barrel too late. The Reaper snapped his neck. Above, blasts and gunfire echoed. Mike's exterior assault. Please, Grant rasped from under the table. I was just following orders. So was I, David said, dragging him out. 15 years killing innocents on your commands. Now I follow mine. David, wait. The knife plunged clean and true into his heart. Grant's eyes bulged, then dimmed. Stand down, David said into comms. Complex status? Cleared, Mike replied, but incoming, multiple vehicles. 10 minutes to contact. Copy, exiting. David grabbed incriminating files from the wrecked system and surfaced. The compound was a battlefield, guards' bodies strewn, buildings ablaze, vehicles exploding. Mike had excelled. Emily? David asked. In the van since the shooting, very cooperative. Good. We're out. They fled the burning site. Watching smoke plumes, David felt closure for the first time in years. Harrison Grant and his op were done. Crucially, the target list died with them. What's next? Mike asked. We vanish. New names, new lives, new rules. David glanced back at the inferno. And if anyone else hunts vets, they'll learn how it ends. In the van's rear, Emily spoke for the first time since the assault. You know this changes nothing. Grant was just a cog. The real controllers are still out there. Then they'd better hope our paths never cross, David replied coldly. Because next time, I won't be so merciful. 3 months later, David Hale officially perished in the Cascade Mountains during a hike. Body never recovered. Avalanche and rugged terrain did the job. Colleagues from the insurance firm attended the memorial, remembering him as a quiet, reliable man who adored his wife. Emily Ward Hale inherited everything. She played the grief-stricken widow impeccably, then vanished 6 weeks later, right when Grant's organization crumbled. The Redmond compound raid exposed a decades-old network of illicit ops, leading to congressional hearings and high-level resignations. But the man named Michael Torres no longer cared about politics. He ran a small fishing boat rental business on a bay, living in a house 20 miles from neighbors, speaking to no one for weeks. Michael Burns, under Carlos Mendez, operated a dive shop on the island's other side. They met monthly to swap intel and confirm survival. Funds from Grant's op, nearly $12 million in crypto, split evenly. Enough for quiet lives if they stayed vigilant and off-grid. But David knew some ghosts refuse burial. An encrypted message arrived. Package delivered. Issue resolved. Thanks for the tip. Sender, Sarah Chen, one of Grant's list. She'd survived the purge and wasn't idle. Similar notes came from others in recent months. Those once targeted now struck back. The network reborn, not governmental, no top-down approval, no dubious excuses. Ghosts hunting monsters masterfully. The satellite phone buzzed. Seen the news? Michael asked without greeting. Which? Senator Morrison found dead in his D.C. apartment. Suicide. But details don't add up. David checked feeds. Senator Robert Morrison, one from Grant's files, a politician profiting from illegal arms deals for over a decade. Death looked professional. Ours? David asked. Has to be. Too secure for amateurs, and camera footage shows anomalies, like our training. A familiar stir in David's chest, not unease, but recognition. Justice served, if not in court. Any word from others? Chen checked in last week. Webb's in Phoenix. Rodriguez went dark 3 days ago, but that's normal for him. Pause. David, one more thing. Shoot. Emily reached out. The name punched David's gut. He'd assumed she'd vanished into witness protection or fled abroad. What does she want? Info, Michael said. She's tracking the same network we are from outside. Seems Grant's org had international ties we missed. She wants a meet, has data on an active op in the Middle East. David stared at Caribbean waters, thinking of the woman who'd slept beside him 8 years, plotting his end. Logic said ignore her. Emily Ward was a trained asset who'd betrayed him once. Trusting again was suicide. But if right about the Middle East, other networks persisted, still hunting vets who'd served honorably. Where's the meet? Neutral ground, crowded spot. She suggested a cafe in Guatemala City's airport. When? Tomorrow, noon. David closed his eyes, listening for conscience remnants. Smartest was staying dead, chartering boats, letting others clean up. He'd earned peace, paid dearly, but Grant's list held 47 names. David confirmed 31 dead. 12 joined their new network. 4 remained. 4 living normal lives, unaware their days were numbered. Book the flight, David said finally. But Mike, if it's a trap, if Emily's working for Grant's successors, know it's been an honor serving with you. Same, brother. But if she betrays again, remember, I hold grudges longer than you. Packing his go-bag, David reflected on his starting self. David Hale believed in second chances, redemption, people's capacity for change. The Reaper knew better. Some didn't deserve seconds, some betrayals unforgivable. But sometimes even monsters could be pointed right. Emily Ward once tried killing him. Tomorrow she'd learn the man she married never existed, and the one she'd awakened was far scarier than imagined. The ghost went hunting once more. David Hale melted into Guatemala City's airport crowd, never seen again. Next morning, Emily Ward was found dead in her hotel room. Robbery gone fatal. Case closed in a week. Over 2 years, 17 high officials died in accidents, suicides, random crimes. No one linked them, except those reading signs. Sometimes justice wears badges and sits in court. Sometimes it wields a knife and leaves no witnesses.